My name's Robert Tong, and we're here today at the track day with our new car. This behind me now, it's an MK Indy Cup 200.
And when you say new, how far have you driven the car when you reach the track?
Not driven it at all. At all. I've driven it about 5 metres, literally. The car's been set. The car was run on the rolling road to tune the engine before we collected it last week, but the car's never run before today.
So it's a real baptism of fire.
Proper baptism of fire today. Good test for the car.
And an impressive engine as well, from what I've been told as well.
It's a mighty engine. It's a 1585cc stage 3 Suzuki Hayabusa from RLM Racing.
And what are the plans with the car? Because I can see from the roll cage and from your attire and how serious you are, there's a competition plan with this.
So we already compete in the British Sprint Championship with a single-seater, a Force TA, which has also got a Suzuki engine in it. So the idea with this car is to introduce my son George to racing. The Force is not the first place you want to go when you start driving, and so the idea with this car is that we can introduce George. He can sit in with me, he can passenger me, and he can start. He's only 16 at the moment, so he can start to learn about cars and track days and all of that. So and of course I'm going to have a bit of fun with it too, and my wife's had a go as well today. So it's a bit of family fun.
So you'll probably have your missus and your son using this car for competitions now. So
we will do some sprints in it eventually. Once we get to grips with the car and we start to learn a little bit about how the car behaves. And we'll do a few track days first and get to know it.
So what first impression straight out the box? What have you found with the car?
It's a fantastic car. It's I was a motocrosser, so I'm very into suspension. Actually, doing suspension work. A compliant car is very important to me, and it's also important for tracks like Aintree, which are a little bit bumpy. Car's very compliant, it feels great, it's communicative. You can start to feel when it's sliding at the front and at the rear. I think the basic setup, which is the setup that RLM have been using for racing, is pretty good. I can't think of anything I'm going to change in it, to be quite honest, at the moment. But we'll get some more experience with the car, and it's great. It's a great car straight out of the box.
Hi Craig, been a while since you appeared on the channel, and you've come to the track day. What's the purpose of the track day for you?
Track day for us is to sort of test the limits of the GR8. We haven't been out with the slicks much, so we're just trying to understand and push the limits of the chassis, see what we can get out of it, what we feel like it can benefit from, and what doesn't need fixing. But ultimately, you know, me and Sean work quite tirelessly round the clock to get customer cars done. So it's quite enjoyable to just come out and sort of have a bit of fun. This is obviously our passion. So it's good, you know, rather than us talking the talk, at least we can walk the walk and sort of give a good feedback to customers as well, because we've shared experience.
Progress on the car since we first spoke to you?
Yeah, so as you'll notice, there's a different rear wing on the car now, which is it's now in full race trim, as it was a 2-litre challenge car when he first started it. This being the development car, so this was the first car. So there's a couple of like little bits that were changed on it that we've now reverted back to normal, which has given us better track usability. So we found airflow was an issue to the engine, so you'll see holes in the back because it's a necessity. Made some small adjustments to the ride height, suspension pickups, and then it's just sort of maintenance and rerouting of cables to make it more efficiently to remove the engine and gearbox and so on quite quickly if we need to.
doing it. I think it's going to stay driving.
Well, the name of the company is Auto Tune. I'm Anthony Taylor, and we've come here today with 2 customers' cars and my own McLaren M1B, and they've all had complete winter rebuilds, so it's an ideal spot not far from home just to give them a run round before we go to any of the circuits. The customers' March, which is over there, 74S for sports car, has now had 2 drivers, maybe even 3 by the end of the day, who are absolutely over the moon. The white M1A, which has just gone home because he's happy with his. He's even let his coach driver have a ride round. It's just to see the reaction on people's faces when they get 600 horsepower behind them, and tyres that are about 7 inches wide, which is what we have to use for Goodwood, which now means I might, with a bit of luck, have some time to run my own down.
I saw you out in your car earlier. I mean, what's the old circuit like these days?
It's good. There is, you've got to know it, there is a couple of off-camber corners, and at the bottom of the main straight it's off-camber and quite bumpy. It's not unusual to see a car bounce off the track and hit one of the horse jumps, which has happened twice, and then unfortunately the club has got to pay for it. So we're trying to be careful around there. Don't want to upset the jockey club, because the jockey club are unfortunately the owners who have stopped racing and stopped everything here. They just don't want to know cars. It's a shame.
Right, well it's a 1975 March 75S. My name's Adam Sykes, and I brought it over from Knutsford in Cheshire. The car I bought in bits in 2012, and Autotune at Rishton and Blackburn, they restored the car for me, and we raced it for two seasons just after the lockdown. So we had some good results. We had a couple of top 10 finishes in Thunder Sports, and we're hoping to be out again at the Gold Cup in August.
So how did you get connected with Autotune? Is it through their reputation, or?
To be honest, I've raced Formula Fords against Richard. Obviously Anthony's been around forever, but Richard's a friend of mine, met him in the paddock many years ago, and I always thought they built a nice car, so chose them to build my car for me.
And tell me a little bit about the history of the car as well.
Okay, well it was a very famous car in the sense that it became something else. It became the Super Skoda. A chap called Tony Sugden took the Le Mans type Group 6 body off and put a fiberglass Skoda body on. He then entered Thunder Saloons and lots of club races and won over 100 times with it. So we've put it back to Group 6 spec with the V6, the GA engine. So yeah, it's how I wanted it to be, but we've got the option. We could always recreate the Super Skoda. And
so you briefly mentioned the engine. You've got what engine?
So it's a GA Cosworth V6. The gearbox is it's basically Formula One suspension and gearbox, so it's the FG 400 gearbox, and we've got March 761 Formula One suspension, brakes, wheels, tyres. It's an F1 car in drag, basically, in a frock. So yeah, no, great fun. The circuit's a bit small here for it, really, to really get it going, but yeah, really a lot of fun.
You've enjoyed your day?
I've loved every second of it, and I got to have a play in the McLaren as well, so that's all about it.
What were your impressions of the McLaren as well?
Totally different. I mean, there's only 10 years between the two of them, but it feels like there's could be 50 years between them. This is I personally would say this is more difficult to drive quickly. It's more you're on a razor's edge, really, with regards to it gripping and it not gripping. Whereas you can,
of the aero?
Well, you've got the aero to play with, and it's a lot stiffer. Obviously, the McLaren slides around, and you can understeer and then maybe correct with some oversteer. But yeah, no, it's a pleasure to drive. And that the engine is so sweet in that it's a lovely thing strapped to your back.